Hello and welcome to BroPartisan Hacks, where we discuss politics, culture, or whatever else we feel like. Hope you enjoy this short clip from the full episode.
So, $15 minimum wage.
50? Is it 50 now?
It's 15. One thing that I saw was that, for just to start with, that if wages had risen, one day I learned how to talk, if wages had risen with inflation, like along with inflation, because you said inflation was the problem. If wages had risen with inflation, we would be at $23 an hour as a minimum wage, which is significant. Now, I've heard also that minimum wage should be around 60% of the median wage. So not the mean, but the median, which... Honestly, if the median wage is around 40% or 40,000-ish, it's like 41 something. It actually comes out to, somebody did the math, but it actually comes out to like $14.98 per hour. So right there at $15 an hour at 60% of the median wage nationwide. However, if you did that in a city like Seattle, the median wage in Seattle, the minimum wage would come out to like $28 an hour. Now, obviously, there are people on the left where $15 minimum wage has been the go get it for, I don't know, 2-3 years now. So everybody's been talking about $15 minimum wage, and that's been the goal.
And just to be clear, this is a federal mandated minimum wage.
Right. So what it's funny because, again, that's been the goal for a lot of progressives and a lot of the left is $15 minimum wage, and now we actually have like Joe Biden talking about it, which was something that you couldn't even conceive of a year ago. Just having that be mainstream. Okay. So now they're talking about it. And of course, what's the online left doing? 15's not enough. It should be 25. And so what the proposal right now for $15 an hour minimum wage is incremental. I've looked, I don't have it in front of me and I don't know how to find it, but I saw it goes up. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
My screen stopped for a second.
Yeah, you're good. I see you.
Rob. Hello. Okay. So it's like next year it goes up. Next year it goes up to 9 something. Then the year after that it goes up to 12 something, and then the year after that it eventually ending at $15 an hour in 2025.
I have it. I found that bill. You want me to pull it up?
Oh, you have it? Yeah.
Right. So, wow, that's really weird. Okay, so here it says Bobby Scott, blah 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 blah. The plan proposes increasing the federal minimum, which stands at $7.25 to $9.50 in 2021. The minimum wage would increase incrementally over the next 4 years, with a target 15 mandated by 2025. Federal minimum wage would be exceeded to index the median wage growth in the years after 2025. Federal minimum would change automatically to account for inflation without action needed by Congress. Phasing out tipped wages, youth workers, and workers with disability. Sorry, I'm reading it along with this. I guess I can keep reading it aloud for anyone who's listening. Even with the COVID-19 pandemic, the 725 federal minimum wage was economically and morally indefensible, said Scott, Chairman of the House, blah, blah, blah. Now the pandemic is highlighting the gross imbalance between the productivity of our nation's workers and the wages they are paid. The Raise the Wage Act is a critical step towards lifting hardworking people out of poverty, addressing income inequality, and building back a better economy where everyone can succeed. Okay. Is that the bill you were looking for?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Yes, because every right-wing person is going to tell you that raising the minimum wage, double it overnight, is going to affect businesses. And it's actually going to hurt the economy because, the economics 101, inflation, cost of everything goes up, people get laid off, unemployment goes up, Democrats are dumb. That hasn't happened in the states that they've raised the minimum wage.
It did happen in New York.
It didn't happen in Florida. It didn't happen in Seattle. It didn't happen where?
It happened in New York. When they raised the federal minimum wage for restaurateurs and restaurateurs, they all got let go. A bunch of them let go. And, that's just what happened.
Did that have to do with the pandemic, or did that have to do with...
I mean, I'm sure it led into it, but it happened before the pandemic.
Okay, the minimum wage for fast food workers outside New York City is scheduled to increase up to $15 on July 1st, 2021. State law defines fast food establishments as any chain with at least 30 locations. In New York City, it was already $15 an hour. So that's not giving me any more information.
I mean, you wanna talk about
opinion,
evidence.
The $15 minimum wage was supposed to hurt New York City restaurants, but both revenue and employment are up. This was in January 12th of 2020, so this is before the pandemic hit.
Why is it
what
written
hasn't
as an opinion
happened?
piece?
It's on Market Watch. I mean, everything's written as an opinion piece. So we can look up each one. It says when worker pay goes up, employers can respond in a number of different ways. They can cut hours, lay off workers, accept smaller profits, or raise prices. With profits so low in the restaurant industry, employers may not have the option to accept less than profits without going into the red. In many industries, increased labor costs may prompt business to lay off American workers and move operations overseas where labor costs are lower. But this is a viable solution in the restaurant industry since most of the work is done on site. Still, massive layoffs in the restaurant industry are unlikely because owners need a certain number of staff to operate a full-service kitchen. So they increase prices. Prices go up. Raising menu prices will lead to fewer people dining out and consequently more restaurant closures. The fact of the matter is, and I can go into keep reading this if you would like, but the fact of the matter is when you put money in the hands of more people, it's demand side economics. When you put more money, or Keynesian economics, I don't know how to say that guy's name. When you put more money in the hands of regular people, the everything goes up. Everybody's profit margin goes up. Laffer was a quack. Wage hikes help everyone. Perhaps the principal reason that the minimum wage increase did not seem to have a negative effect on the restaurant industry in New York is that the state's economy is strong overall, so businesses have been able to absorb the increases without having to make hard decisions about where to cut. So again, this is, it's got links for all of, all the claims that they make. Low-wage workers have more money in their pockets. They will have more money to spend, potentially expanding the number of consumers who can afford to eat out. I'm just saying, like, historical data doesn't support that people will get laid off. Now, if you go from 7.25 an hour to $28 an hour nationwide, yes, then it will crash. And not just like businesses, but the economy could crash. So I do agree with there has to be a certain medium there. And ideally, honestly, you could do it um, by county in the country, because obviously, like, Dallas County, so forth and so on, some of these more expensive areas to live, can support raising the minimum wage higher than Hill County, for example. Like, it's just not going to be feasible for them to jump to $15 an hour overnight. Dallas County could do it tomorrow, and I don't think it would affect business at all. That's what I think. There's data to back that up. I mean, like, I could say that's what I think, but I mean, in every region where the minimum wage has gone up, most minimum wage jobs are not small businesses or small business jobs. Cities and states with higher minimum wages have seen increase in profit and reduction in unemployment as a result compared to the federal minimum. So again, it has to do with putting more money in the pockets of regular people who, again, like I've talked about, are going to go out and spend the money. I mean, think about, for example, what's going on in the stock market right now. The regular people got their little stimmy checks, and they're doing something with it, and they're trying to make more money with their money. Not everybody needed to put that in, needed to go out and buy something immediately, right? But some people were able to save it, but other people, they had to go put that immediately back into the economy. What's the term? Velocity of money. Have you heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Velocity of money.
Yep.
Where when rich people get a big chunk of money, get $100, it goes into the bank and they don't think about it again. But if let's say a mechanic gets $100, and he goes and he buys, or let's just say regular Joe, right? Regular Joe gets money, $100, and he goes and fixes something on his car that needed to be fixed. And then that money goes to the mechanic. The mechanic then takes that money and he goes and buys food for his family. That money then is transferred to the grocery store and the farmers who made the food or who grew the food. It ever increases. I'm not explaining this well, but you get the gist of it.
I'm letting you go, man. You're on a roll. I'm going to disagree with you on a lot of these points you've made, but
go ahead. Which one?
Well, I guess my first one is, so it's a shot at the source. And yeah, this is sourced. This has sources written in it. How many restaurant employees do you need? So, I'm sorry. There was evidence. There was data that showed that the restaurant's people were either had reduced hours or were laid off. And the prices went up for the food. And there were New Yorkers complaining about that. That did happen. So, I mean, like I said, this piece here, yeah, okay, it has a good argument, but those things did happen. The other thing I saw was the numbers you were throwing out seemed high. So I pulled it up.
Which numbers?
The numbers you were saying for the inflation rates on the wage. And this one says that in 1968, your wage then would be worth $10.54. now. So while it has had I guess a decrease in value.
How about we go back
to
1932 when the original
$38. Well, I mean, shit. Why don't we just go back to the 1800s then? Like, what's your cutoff?
What does that
matter? Why is that important?
Because that's when the minimum wage was introduced in the 30s with Roosevelt. We didn't have a minimum wage before that. Remember?
So you're going to go back to the beginning of history of the minimum wage then. That's what we should be looking at then.
I would say so, yeah, because that's
and we haven't had any other economic factors since then. Nothing else has happened with the economy since 1938. Or everything has happened, and it's a different world that we live in.
What do you mean different world? I don't understand.
Post-World War II world? Is it the same as it was pre-war?
We've been in war for 21 years, now what?
Have we, though? I mean, we've been at war. But has it been the total war scenario that we saw previously in this country's history? No.
I don't understand the point, because you're maintaining you're going back to lack of people, lack of employable people. Is that what you're going with?
No, I'm saying it's a factor. It's not the only factor, but I mean it raises the question of how far you want to go back. Obviously, this chart here then doesn't go back far enough. Then
I said since the beginning of minimum wage. That's how far back. That'd be the line.
So
Captain Slippery Slope.
Oh, what did you say? I'll let you go with it.
What I said was $23 an hour, and obviously I got that from the Gravel Institute, which we all know how biased that one is.
Yeah.
But I was talking about the 60% of the median and where it should be ideally, and how that's nationwide, and how it, ideally, in my opinion, it should be based off area and cost of living in that area, because really at the end of the day, people want a living wage, right? What's a living wage? What would be a living wage in your mind? If you worked 40 hours a week, what's a living wage? It's different based on your area, right?
So
would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that, which is why I would beg the question of why do you need a federal minimum wage?
You really don't understand why? I'll tell you why. Do you want to know why we have to have a federal minimum wage? Because unions in this country are weak as fuck. That's why. Because if we had a strong union base in this country, we wouldn't need a federal minimum wage, because the unions would take care of that.
Have you worked with a lot of unions?
Unions are what protects the workers.
Have you worked with a lot of unions?
No, recently? But I can look across the pond and see that in other countries that don't require federal minimum wages, and their McDonald's employees make $20 an hour because of unions. It's not hard to fucking do research.
So you haven't worked with any unions in the Americas, have you?
I'm a teacher. Of course I've worked with unions.
Okay. I mean, we live in one of the most restrictive states for unions.
Correct.
In Texas. So that's the right to work state. And have you worked with anybody on the other side, like the labor office people? Like, talked to them at all? Had any conversations with them? Like the people who have to like meet with the unions and set up their contracts and everything?
One of my best friends is a member of the pipe fitters union.
Yeah, no, I know.
I guess that's close as I get.
So
and I think he's a representative for his location.
I can't speak to like his business and when what they're doing these days. I can only speak for like the people in the groups that I work around, right? You're right that their union and the people that I work with, I'm gonna get myself in trouble, have very little leverage, it seems, when it comes to dealing with getting what they want right now. I will tell you that. However, on the other side of the channel, on the other side of the thing, is that the sites that aren't unionized where I work, and then the business that I work, their guys are getting paid more. They're getting better benefits. They're taking the union guys to go work at their facilities for double the rate of what the union has argued for. We can't even hold on to our union hands. You know, nobody wants to join the union anymore. None of the younger guys do. And I don't know if that's just a function of the way that they negotiated the contract. Like, they don't have to get the benefits of being in that union. Like, they'll get a union rep if something happens or whatever to come represent them at something. They don't have to pay the dues just because of what their job description is. And there are union members and non-union members that I work with on both sides of this, and in the same job. And like, the labor board has basically made it the mission to like try to get people to like vote down the union so that they have a little bit more flexibility with their people, because right now they couldn't pay more people if they wanted to hang on to them. That's what the union has done for where I work. They can't even keep up with the demand to like hang on to these guys. So they get these guys in, they hire them up, they work them about a year, they train them up, and then they get hired to go work somewhere else.
I'm with you, because the labor unions are weak. They're weak. They have piss poor leadership. You know, I mean.
Do you think that labor unions? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And I think a lot of the reason is the business class or the owner class have worked very hard to downplay unions in this country, and worked very hard to get rid of them, and so they've gotten weaker and weaker and weaker over the course of 100 years.
Do you think we still have?
You wouldn't have weekends without a union. You wouldn't have a 40-hour work week without a union. You wouldn't have. You would still have child labor without a union. I mean, there are lots and lots of things that unions have done for this country, and they have been fought against every step of the way. And so it's been a long, long effort to hurt unions. And so all of those things you're talking about is just what's the word? A symptom of that effort. And so, a lot of people are, you get fired when you try to start a union. Even though that's illegal, they still do it, because what are you going to do? You're going to sue them? You're going to call somebody? Who are you going to call? You're out of work. Now what? Now you got to go to a good job. You don't have time for that. You don't have time to go and start this fight. So it's just been a weakening. But regardless, that's why you need a federal minimum wage.
So what you just said,
those groups are weak.
Like, retaliatory action is illegal already, and so.
But who's gonna enforce it, Rob?
Who does enforce it?
Exactly.
OSHA.
You can take it to court.
It depends.
You can take it to court.
You have to take it to court. That's the point.
Who has time for that? But who has time for that? You're going to take a bunch of fucking low-wage jobs, a bunch of low-wage workers who live paycheck to paycheck, and they got time to go to fucking court over this? No, they got to go get another job.
Not getting they
got to have their job that they have. They don't have time.
They got fired. They didn't get their unemployment check.
Oh, that's enough. My bad.
Is that not going to be enough to like have the time to go to court and do your thing?
No.
Or is the job not worth fighting over?
Either one, any one of those things. Like it's not, but is it worth it to go and start it up and where you have the possibility where you could be fired because you just saw Joe, your buddy that stands right next to you. He was talking to the union people and he got fired. Now, is it worth it to you to go talk to him? No, because you need that job. Because we live in America, where if you don't work, you don't fucking eat.
That's not true.
Okay, you're right. It is true. It is true. The little $300 unemployment a week that you get is not enough to feed a family. I'm sorry. It's not. $300 is enough to scrape by on if you eat ramen. I'm just saying, it's not enough.
If you're working somewhere and you get fired for trying to start a union, that shit's illegal. You have a case.
So what happens? Let's see. Let's look that up. What happens?
Then what the fuck's the union gonna do for you?
Get fired for... So, can talking with unions get me fired? The simple answer is no. Does this mean you won't get fired for participating in union activities? No. Company can't say they're firing you for union activities. It can say they're firing you for something else. The onus is then on you to prove otherwise. And proving your case in court of law can be costly both financially and time-wise. Even if you are able to prevail, the punishment usually amounts to no more than the company compensating you for the lost wages, minus any money earned at your current job and offering you your job back. That's basically exactly what I was saying. That's from ZipRecruiter.com.
So if you make the choice,
it wouldn't be worth it
to do those things, then you made a choice.
So your choice is no choice, Rob.
You made a choice. It's still a choice.
Bro, okay. So let's talk about choices. And I'm going to give you this example, and I got this from Vosh because I love it. But listen, okay,
right,
listen to this choice. Okay, you and I are on a plane. The plane crashes. Okay, the plane crashes onto a deserted island. It's very small. It's maybe 100 feet all directions in diameter. It's a circle island. I wake up before you. Okay? I wake up before you and I collect all the coconuts and I hide them away. I collect every trace of food on the island and I hide it away from you. When you wake up and you seem hungry, I say, hey, I got these coconuts over here for you. In order to get a coconut, you got to suck this dick. Otherwise, you starve to death. Are you taking dick or death?
I would probably physically attack you. I would take a third choice and I would attack you and I would say, who's going to win? If those are my choices, then I fight.
So what you're saying
if those are my choices, then I fight. Period.
So you're for feudalism. Got it.
If that was the choice between sucking dick or having a fucking coconut, yeah, feudalism. I'm gonna fight for that shit. There's no binary choice in that bullshit. That's a bullshit thing. That's bullshit. And you know that is. And you know it's bullshit because any person who's in this economy, like, it sucks right now. It's as bad as it's ever been in my life.
So you're saying they should fight.
What does that mean? In the
What does that
situation you gave me, it was physical violence. What does fighting look
Right.
like now? Is it still physical violence?
I would imagine so.
Or there's a fourth choice where you could go do something else. You don't have to suck that dick. You could work on yourself, get a little bit better, get a little bit more experience, earn something more. You know, the old bullshit thing when they told people
so you
to
got,
learn
you got
the
time
code.
to do that? So you're just going to live off the unemployment? What if you got a family to feed right fucking now, Rob?
Hey,
You don't have a choice to go better yourself. You got to have a fucking job. You got to feed your family. That's dumb. It's not, I'm going to go get better. I'm going to go back to school. Fuck that shit. You got a family to feed right now. You don't have fucking time.
You get to work. What do you want me to tell you?
So
there's an industry down
exactly
here.
what the fuck
There's
I'm
work
saying.
to do. Well, if you don't want to work in fucking McDonald's, there's work to
what
do.
the fuck I'm saying.
There's work to fucking
your
be done.
So then those are your choices. So you go and find whatever work can happen. So you either choose the job that you have at the rate that you have. You talk to somebody and you get fired for it. You talk to a union and you get fired for it. So your options are to go find another job. That's it. That's why unions are weak.
I never said they were strong. I only question the reason for their existence today.
Well, for better wages would be the idea. For what they're worth now, I don't think there's any reason for them now. Honestly. Well, I've never lived in an area where unions are strong, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
like
I wouldn't either.
I've never. I mean.
And in the area where I live and the unions that I work around, they're not helping you; they're hurting you.
Well, apparently they're helping people over in Nevada. Their culinary union's pretty strong.
I can see that.
Steelworkers union's pretty strong up in the north side. The auto workers union's fallen apart because of NAFTA. People can't get work, so.
I mean, if they close down your whole business, your union ain't going to do much.
Yeah, what are they going to do? So.
Yeah, we don't have a plan here anymore. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, and that's taking away a lot of the power.
So I want to get back to this idea on the
Bill.
federal minimum wage. And you said it yourself that different areas have different cost of living, right?
Yes.
So you have a bare minimum where and I think you brought this example up, but the bare minimum where the lone gas station attendant owner who works out on the middle of whatever highway runs through the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, that guy needs to pay his employees $15 an hour there, even though having more than one employee, we'll say, would basically just put him out of business.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think if you did it county by county or state by state, even, I think that would be better. That would be a better option, because every place is different. There's no two. Because I do think. One, I do think it's a good idea to do it incrementally if you're going to do a federal minimum wage. I think the way they're going about it is a good idea. I think the minimum wage does need to increase. And again, I think it's important because we don't have a strong union base that protects wages for people around this country. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, $15 an hour is not a lot of money, especially in where I live. It's not going to cut it. I once tried to survive 20 years ago, tried to survive on $10 an hour, and I couldn't do it. Cost of living. So one thing that I think is important is to determine what classifies a living wage. what would you say classifies a living wage? Like,
I mean, for me personally, I've always calculated like your house should be no more than 20-25% of your monthly income, bills somewhere in the neighborhood, another 5, 10, 15% depending on how many car payments you have and insurance and everything else in that. I mean, but that adds up. No, that's not an accurate statement. So your house should be about 20-25%, and you should basically have your bills as another like 30%, and everything else is divided up between food and savings, essentially. So, I don't know.
so here's what I think. Okay, living wage equals the cost of basic but decent life for a family. Obviously divided by the number of people in the family plus statutory payroll deductions and taxes. Okay, so cost for a basic but decent life for a reference size of family. Okay, cost of food, cost of housing, and other essential needs, and then enough for a small margin of unforeseen events. Because what I've learned about adulthood is at least once a year, you're going to have something happen where that's going to cost you $1,000 minimum. And so I would say that you need to make enough for the cost of food, the cost of housing, based on your family size, and any other essential needs, right? And then have enough to save at least $1,000. Because too many people are going into debt for a $400, $500 emergency.
Thank you for watching this episode of Bro Partisan Hacks with Reese and Rob. We really, really appreciate you watching, tuning in. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to us. We're putting out content as often as we can. Share it with your friends. Get it out there. Get our names out there. Also, hit that bell, tap that bell right there so that you can get updated when we put out a new video. Rob and I are trying to pump these videos out as often as we can. However, we both have day jobs, we have families, so our schedules have to line up so that we can make a new video. Speaking of our day jobs, our opinions and views expressed are our own and in no way represent those of our respective employers. Thank you. Thanks again for watching.